I guess there's been some wagering going on as far as how I start my press conferences, so I'm going to try to change it up every week so nobody can win whatever they're wagering. So this week, it was great to have Cam and Brant back on the field last week. Lethal combination. They've got great chemistry, and obviously you saw that in the first half, so that was a big plus for us. I thought we played a fairly clean game. There are some things that we can do better, as there is every single week. Thought we ran the ball just okay. We had 185 yards rushing, but we like to get that 5 yards a carry statistic, and we were just shy of that. Penalties were not excessive, maybe one or two too many, but not anything excessive. Did turn the ball over a couple times, lost the turnover margin, which we rarely do. It was -1 in the turnover margin, but a lot of good stuff. We played very efficiently for the most part. Defense was suffocating and ended up with a shutout. I think it was the first shutout in 4 or 5 years. And offense put up a bunch of numbers in the first half. It was a chance for us to get in a lot of the backups in the second half. And in fact, even in the end of the first half, we got some guys in. But overall, a good start to the season. Much bigger challenge this week. We understand that. Baylor's a good football team. They got good personnel. They're well coached, extremely well coached. Had a victory last week, much like a lot of the country, where they played a opponent that was at the FCS level. But we were fortunate to get out of there with a win last year. We know that. We haven't forgotten that. It was a right down to the wire game, and so we got to prepare the right way all week long, just like we do every single week, and be ready for a fight, because that's what it's going to be. And Big Fox, I guess, is covering it, 130 kick, so have a lot of eyes on us, and so we want to make sure that we play with the same passion and energy and efficiency that we did last week, except hopefully better. So that's where we're at.
Kyle, this question comes from Justin.
Justin,
I'm his spokesman today.
Okay.
He said, great win on Saturday. How would you grade Isaac Wilson's performance in the game, and are you concerned about this position moving forward?
Okay, Isaac Wilson, I thought he came in, probably put him in a little difficult situation there. Probably should have had him just hand off. Well, I shouldn't say should have. I think eventually he'll grow from that. Not eventually, but he will. He's been in that situation now already. So if it does come up again, he's been in a hurry up situation at the end of a half. But overall, probably a B if you're putting a grade on it. Made some good throws once he got settled in there in the second half. Made some good runs from the pocket, and he just right out of high school. So I don't know what everyone was expecting, but when we grade the film, he was pretty efficient and did a nice job. 2 balls that he wish he had back, but it was good to get him the reps. And he had 30-something reps, so that's good for him, and it will pay off at some point down the line.
Before the season started, you mentioned that you had 2 tiers of running backs, and mentioned that Dijon Stanley was in the second tier, but you had a special package of plays for him. After his season debut, has he kind of elevated himself into that first tier?
Well, he sure was productive Thursday night and was a big play guy for us. And it's really like the first tier with those 3 guys and an asterisk plus Dijon's package of plays. And so I don't think he's quite yet ready for every down type of a back, but he certainly will have an expanded package as the season goes on if he continues to have the impact that he did last week. But he did everything really well in the game Thursday night. Nearly 200 yards of offense, receiving and rushing, and so he's a weapon for us. At least he was in that first game. And if we can create some more big chunk yardage plays with him in the future, that's that could be a niche that he could fill for us this year.
Kyle, like you said after the game, Kenan Johnson's injury didn't look good. What's the update on him, and what's your plan for that?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's season ending. Season ending, and if there is a silver lining, he will be able to get another year. We haven't had that discussion yet. It just depends on what he wants to do and how he wants to handle it. But from what feedback I have gotten, it would be pretty much a slam dunk to get him another year if he wants to go down that road. And then Aliki went out not season-ending, and so that's the extent of what we'll comment on that. But it's good to, because we feared there for a while that it maybe was extremely serious, but looks like he's going to be back with us at some point.
What's the plan at cornerback now that his injury is season-ending?
Good question. Smith Snowden played exceptionally well at the nickel spot on the inside, slot corner, whatever you want to call it. And he is very capable of playing on the outside as well, so you might see that happen. Scooby Davis came in and gave us some good reps. We get Cam. Cam's back this week at corner, and that'll give us another guy that had a very good spring and was showing promise. And so it's right now we don't have the exact answer and configuration, but we'll take a look at the configurations in practice and determine in the next day or two what the best one's going to be.
Kyle, how would you grade out your offensive line in that first week, knowing that it's obviously the first game, takes some time for this unit to gel?
You want another letter grade? Am I pinned to letter grades? How about B+? B as in boy for offensive line. Gave up a few pressures and a sack that we shouldn't have, but overall, when you look at the efficiency from start to finish, and again, the first line played a few series in the second half, so they weren't completely out in the second half, but I thought they did some good things. The second line came in and got some quality reps and did some good things as well. And so I would say that we know they can be better, but decent start to the season.
Kyle, this is a little odd, but because
You're a little odd, DJ.
Thank you.
So, okay.
PK's not here, so somebody's got to take that, right?
Yeah.
Because there were so many big plays, did you get all the work in you wanted with the first team offense and do all the things you wanted to do because they were coming off the field because they were scoring touchdowns?
Yeah. I would say yes and no. I think yes in the fact that in this day and age of football, not in this day and age, but in football, it's much easier to put points on the board if you get chunk yardage somewhere along the way in the drive. And we happen to have a couple plays that were huge chunk yardage plays. But it's tough to go 14 plays 4 or 5 yards at a time. And so it was positive in that respect. And we only had half a game to work with the first offense. But I would say, yeah, I think we got accomplished what we needed to. But again, this will be a much bigger challenge this week, and I don't think it's going to be a case where our offense is only playing half the game. In fact, I'm pretty certain of that.
Chris Curry's on staff here now. How did that come about, and how's he been doing?
We had a gentleman on staff that was going to be with us that had a family issue where it prevented him from being able to be with us this season. We didn't find out until about 2.5 weeks ago. And Chris is still living here. He was helping out at one of the local high schools and scheduled to help them out this season. But when that opening came about, extended the offer to Chris. He showed interest, and we're excited to have him on board. So he's an administrative assistant for us right now.
Kyle, obviously, as you've mentioned, all fall camp, keeping Cam healthy is a priority.
Mm-hmm.
And after the game, you said you felt like he took a couple too many hits. How do you balance, I guess, his competitive edge and your want to keep him healthy? Because after the game, he said he takes hits and he calls them Scooby snacks. I mean, walk me through how you balance that as a coach.
Well, I will say this: after watching the film, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. No, I shouldn't say as bad, but he was fairly smart most of the time. His competitive mentality comes out, during those situations oftentimes, and he wants to get that extra yard. But he's a guy that when he's in the lineup, we're obviously a much better football team, and so we don't want to beat it to death and make him, not that he'd ever be afraid of anything, but so concerned about it that it affects his play in other areas. And so I thought that after watching the film, I wish maybe once or twice he could have, got a little more out of harm's way. But he is one of the most competitive guys that you'll ever come across, and so it's going to be tough to completely say that, hey, you're never going to do that, because it's going to happen once in a while.
one of the quirks of realignment is having a non-conference game against another Big 12 team.
Right.
How do you approach that situation? It's kind of unique in the sense that, I mean, they are a conference foe, but it doesn't count on the conference standings.
Yeah, it is a unique situation, but they've been on the schedule for 5 years now, or 4 years, whatever it was. So who knew that things would shape up as they have? But we've talked about that it doesn't matter. Conference game, non-conference game, every game is critical, and so there's no different approach that we would take this week if it was a conference game that we wouldn't take otherwise. And so it doesn't affect our preparation, doesn't affect how we play, doesn't affect anything. And so in that regard, it's kind of a non-factor, but it is weird that would be the case.
In all fall, there was a lot of conversation talking about just the depth that you have in the passing game, where you're able to just get a bunch of different guys the ball. Do you care whether it comes to the tight end or wide receiver? Or how do you kind of balance that, or do you balance that in terms of how you kind of spread the ball around?
I think that's a game plan thing week to week. Some weeks the tight ends will be more involved and more the core of the plan. And some weeks it's wide receivers. I think it's matchups and the type of defense that we're facing, their personnel. Are they playing nickel? Are they playing 43? So all that stuff goes into play. But one thing that's a big positive is we have the luxury of being able to attack different ways and have a lot of weapons for Cam and Coach Ludwig to utilize.
Since you didn't play Saturday, and there's a game Friday also, just your take on Big 12 teams and what you saw and what impressed you?
Well, I just saw the scores, and so it seemed like we had a good day. And I don't think anybody got I guess Houston didn't fare so well. But what was the conference, like 10 and
2 losses in the conference.
2 losses, okay, and what, 12 wins?
So West Virginia and Houston were the 2 losses.
14 wins, yeah. So I would say a pretty good weekend for the conference, although, again, it's just taking a quick glance at I didn't look at the box scores or the team stats or anything like that, but just looking at the scores, I think it was a pretty respectable week for the Big 12.
You talked last week about how the staffs are getting bigger. Historically, your coaching staff would be focused on the next game. Do you have enough people now that you have a second group of people who are looking ahead, starting to prepare for those first couple of conference games?
Absolutely, and that's been a big plus for us. And I don't know if it's an advantage, though, because pretty much everybody has the same opportunity to do that. But the advanced scouting and being able to get a week ahead and stay a week ahead during the season is it really is a very valuable tool for the 10 full-time coaches, because when they come in on Sunday, they've already got essentially a scout report in hand, ready to work and base it off what the information that has been gathered tells them, and so that's a plus. But again, is it an advantage for us? No, because everybody's pretty much on the same page there.
This was the first game with your new safety tandem back there. How would you assess their performance?
Pretty good. I think that they did a good job, and Teo Johnson did some good things, missed a tackle or two, but we didn't tackle all that much in fall camp this year, so we expected a few misses. I think overall we only had 8 misses, which is not egregious. That's pretty good tackling. Nate Ritchie, who we all know about, from years past, he's a proven commodity, did a good job. A.K. Gilman gave us some good reps, although he missed a few tackles as well. John O'Hall, I think you got to be excited about him at linebacker. He came in and gave us some really good play at linebacker. In the end of the game, he's not a safety, but he was a safety, so I guess that's somewhat relevant. Who else got in the game? Rabbit got in the game, and he's got a tremendous upside. He just needs more repetition, more familiarity with the defensive scheme. He was not with us in spring or the summer, for that matter. So he's a guy or very little of the summer. So he's a guy that we think is going to continue to figure in more prominently as the season progresses.
Kyle, over this weekend, former staffer of yours, somebody you're probably close with, Jay Hill, had a heart attack. Walk me through your emotions with that. Have you had any conversations with him or anything like that?
Well, it was shocking. Jay is a guy that's always been in great shape and keeps himself fit, and he's only, 40, how old is 40, 49 years old, which is sobering thought that, that could happen to anybody, I guess. But Jay's, a close friend of mine. We were together for many years here on the staff, and we wish him the best. And I don't want to, get too personal or speak more than my share about it. But he's a guy that I know will bounce back, and I guess someone said he was at the game, and so that tells you how competitive he is right there, and how he's he doesn't want to be away from it.
Any other questions? Okay.
Good to go. Thanks, guys. Here we go. On your Labor Day. Thanks for taking your Labor Day to.
Labor Day in football.
There is none.